The first leading cause of death in America is heart disease. Kills 659,041 people every year in the United States. The third is cancer, killing 599,601. What is the second leading cause of death? You're not going to be able to find this if you look it up because apparently we don't categorize abortion as deaths. But if we recognized abortions as the death of a human being, a baby, it would be the second leading cause of death in the U.S. 1 in 4, 24% of women will have an abortion by the age of 45. Over 60 million babies have been killed since Roe versus Wade. Today, in the Supreme Court, they begin hearing the arguments in Dobbs versus Jackson. That's Jackson's Women's Health Organization. Lynn Fitch, who is leading the state's argument, said, "With this brief, we're simply asking the court to affirm the right of the people to protect their legitimate interest and to provide clarity on how they may do so." So you have Thomas Dobbs. He's an MD. He's the Mississippi State Health Officer and petitioner to the U.S. Supreme Court. Jackson Women's Health Organization, the only abortion clinic in the state of Mississippi, and the first female attorney general in Mississippi, Lynn Fitch. She's representing the state of Mississippi. The oral arguments begin today. We're expecting the court to tell us whether they're going to return this to the state or they're going to let Roe versus Wade stand as is, probably sometime this summer, right in the middle of the midterm elections.
Going to be interesting. There's also a big middle ground there where they could come up with something in between those 2 points, where perhaps they allow states to regulate it more, but not all the way to the overturn of Roe versus Wade.
Correct. Roe versus Wade is all about, and so is this, it's all about viability. Roe versus Wade doesn't really define viability. And viability is different. At Roe versus Wade, it was 28 weeks. Now we're at 20 weeks. So where is that line now? It doesn't define it.
Never made any sense. Obviously, right? I mean, if something can change with technology, then how can that be a constitutional right? Right? Like it's such a bizarre construction, and obviously the Constitution does not allow or provide this sort of quote unquote right inside.
So this is what the state of Mississippi is saying. Roe and Casey shackle states to a view of the facts that are decades out of date. It's time for the court to set it right and return the political debate to the political branches of government. So they want the court to clarify whether abortion is actually constitutionally protected. Obviously, they're saying it's not constitutionally protected. You don't have a right to kill a baby. Nothing in text, structure, history, or tradition makes abortion a fundamental right or denies state the power to restrict it. That power is reserved to the states. If you killed a child in utero after what was called the quickening, you could be held for murder in early America.
And before that in Britain and everything else, in England.
Once you knew that it was a baby and the baby was moving, you would be charged with murder if you did anything to kill it.
And coincidentally, or maybe not so coincidentally, it's about 15 weeks. Right. So that's the Mississippi law is 15 weeks.
So the state of Mississippi is arguing the decisions about abortion are policy matters that should be decided by the people and not locked behind the doors of an unelected judiciary. She argues that the state has a legitimate interest in protecting the lives of the unborn, the health of women, and the integrity of the medical profession. So they're not asking for an overturn. When they say, this is going to overturn Roe versus Wade. No, it won't. It won't in California. It won't in New York.
It will overturn Roe versus Wade. In theory, it could. However, the states can just do it on their own.
Yeah. So
it's not going to overturn abortion.
Right. It's not going to overturn abortion. And let me ask you this. The Democrats are now saying that this is a point of revolution for them. That the Democrats will fight an open revolution if this happens. Now, I don't know why that isn't being investigated by the FBI.
Yeah.
But I could say the same thing would be true on the right if the federal government said, we are going to go house to house collecting all of the guns. There would be a revolution in this country from the right, correct?
I mean, if they were going door
to door.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine that would go well.
Right. But I can't imagine that the people on the right would say it's revolution if the Supreme Court said states can do whatever they want. You can have guns, not have guns. The states can do whatever they want. It still would be wrong, but people in Texas would say, move the hell down here. We've been telling you for a while to get out of New York and get out of California. Move to a free place. That's what would happen. And I don't believe that a revolution would actually happen if it was left to the states and the federal government back off. Now, I could be wrong on that, but this is something that they are saying if it's left even to the states, because, again, they're misrepresenting this. The media is lying to you again. The left is lying to you again. This is not an end to all abortion. It is saying, let the voters of each state decide. That's not good enough. Now, in 1972, things were a little different. Things have changed. We can literally watch babies grow in the womb now. We have found out that they do feel pain thanks to medical advancements. We didn't know that when Roe versus Wade was happening.
Come on.
We weren't able to prove it.
Right. Yes, that's a better way of saying it.
Yes, we weren't able to prove it. When it was enacted, the idea also of a working mother was still seen as far-fetched. The core argument back then, when it was first debated in the Supreme Court, is that abortion was necessary for women to achieve success. Now, this idea predicates off a sneaky misogynist argument peddled by feminists that argues if women want to be successful, they need to overcome their womanhood and be more like men. That's ridiculous. The argument that abortion is necessary for women's success is a quintessential outdated argument. It assumes that A, motherhood in and of itself is not success. B, mothers are unable to contribute in society in meaningful ways. 3, that women without children contribute more to society. And this is usually justified by discussions of how mothers earn less in the workforce, which reduces success to only financial success. This has changed. We don't have the same country that we had in 1973. And I know the left and the media would like to say, I know we don't. We have one that's more like 1956. But we don't. We don't. Now, the counter arguments to this case is, and I love this one, it's Supreme Court precedent. It's settled law. Oh, okay. All right. In fact, the Center for Reproductive Rights, the CEO said, the Supreme Court just agreed to review an abortion ban that unquestionably violates nearly 50 years of Supreme Court precedent. Precedent doesn't mean that it's right. And you'd know that if you knew Plessy versus Ferguson. Plessy versus Ferguson is the separate but equal Supreme Court precedent from 1896 until 1954. That was 58 years. So just because the court said it once doesn't make it right. And things change. So what's going to happen? Well, the Dobbs case actually has a real shot of returning abortion decision-making power to the states. We know more about the development of babies. We have disproved that women need to abort children to have any kind of success. And there has never, ever, ever been, and still isn't, a sound constitutional argument to back up Roe versus Wade or Casey. In asking for a clarification, Dobbs will push the Supreme Court to review the constitutionality of how the judiciary is protecting abortion. A push pro-choice advocates are very afraid of because they know, as far as the Constitution goes, they don't have a leg to stand on. That's what this is all going to decide. We are going to have, in hour number 3 of today's radio show and podcast, we have the governor of Mississippi to comment on this. This is the first day of the hearing in the Supreme Court. Opening arguments begin today.